We start with the November vote and what could happen afterward. Will we see a repeat of November 2020 here in Arizona? Joining us is Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer to talk about the county's preparations for the voting that starts a week from Wednesday and his own challenges as he defends our elections. Welcome back to Square, Officer.
Thank you.
First of all, let's give voters a primer. What do they need to know right now as the start of early voting is just 10 days away?
The voter registration deadline is October 11th, so that's the day after Columbus Day. Please, 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 if you want to participate in the November election, make sure to have your voter registration in by then. You can go to Service Arizona, check your voter registration as well to make sure everything's up to date. You can go to beballotready.vote, beballotready.vote. And then early voting starts on October 12th. Now, that's the day when we mail out millions of ballots to anyone who's on the active early voting list or has requested a mail ballot. And that's also when we open our voting locations for the first time, and we'll ramp up more. So we'll open 10 to begin with, and then we'll open more and more until we get to 223.
So if someone registers on October 11th, can they still get an early ballot?
They can still get an early ballot. You can request a ballot by mail up to 10 days before November 8th, so at the end of October. But yes, it won't go out on October 12th if you register on October 11th, but yes, you can still get a ballot by mail.
And so you've recommended that whether you need to register or not, you should still check your registration to make sure what?
Yeah, well, this is a partnership to make sure that your address is accurate, to make sure that all your information is up to date. And then, of course, you can go there to begin tracking your ballot, which I think is one of the neatest features that we have in Maricopa County, and hopefully engenders some confidence in the process, because you can see when we mail your ballot out, you can see when we've received your ballot, you can see when we've signature verified your ballot, and you can see when your ballot has been sent for tabulation.
I love that feature, and it's available to anybody, whether you're a registered Republican, Democrat, or no party.
Correct.
To be clear, because some confusion about that on social media. Let's talk about a different subject. How is the county getting ready for what could happen after the election?
I think we've had our fists up for 2 solid years now, and so we're, I guess, battle-hardened and ready for anything. We don't know what will be thrown at us, but we have a great team in place. We have lots of security measures in place. We take very seriously the security of, yes, your ballot, but also the people who are voting and also the people who are working this election. And so that ranges from everything to the individual 223 voting locations, but also to our central facility, which of course saw some activity following the November 2020 election.
A poll worker sent me a copy of her pay stub. There was hazard pay on it.
Hazard pay, I don't know if that's the right term, but there's a bonus pay to retain people because we want people working longer periods of time. We want people who work the August primary, and so we want you to come back. And so if you work a certain number of hours, and we've increased pay generally just because it's a competitive labor market right now, and I don't have to tell you that driving around you're gonna see, you don't see too many $13 an hour signs anymore. You see them more, 16, 17, 18, and so we've gotten up in those ranges too.
And so, our tendency as humans is to look at the last battle and think, oh, that's going to happen again, right? Audits, all the other stuff that happened. What do you foresee happening, especially when you have 4 candidates on the Republican ticket who have all rejected the results of the 2020 election? It seems like they're going to challenge the results if they lose, aren't they?
They would lose. If they challenge those results, they would lose. We run a fair process. We've done a lot. I think we're more prepared than we've ever been to show people how the process works. We've been working with members of the media. I think the media itself has learned a lot about election administration in the last 3 years, and I think the general public too. We've been doing tours. We've been releasing videos. We've been releasing long written statements that I like to write. So all of those things.
But how specifically are you prepared for that kind of pushback, for when a candidate says, I didn't lose, fraud, cheating, blah, blah, blah? How are you prepared for that?
We'll reject any nonsense and inaccuracies just as we have the past 2 years. Hopefully we'll do it civilly and professionally and thoroughly. And we have always been thorough. Even when the cyber ninjas laid out these allegations, we responded in detailed 93-page format. So we take this very seriously, but we're not going to let people lie about our processes, and we have been consistent about that.
One of the things we're seeing this time around is organized ballot box watch parties.
Yeah.
There's a sheriff up in Yavapai County, I believe, who's part of it, as are other sheriffs. Are you aware of that? And what are you telling voters? Because this presents kind of an intimidating sight at a ballot box.
Well, you should always, whether it's at a drop box, whether it's at a voting location, or in any other format, you should immediately report anything that you feel is a threat, of course, to 911. If you feel that you are experiencing voter intimidation, that is unlawful, and please report that to us. We only have 2 outdoor drop boxes in all of Maricopa County. They are both under 24/7 live streaming video footage. That footage is also saved, so we are monitoring these processes. Now, a ballot drop box operates just like any USPS box, except for it's picked up directly by our bipartisan election workers rather than through the USPS intermediary, which means you can wait until the very last minute to drop off your early ballot if you want to do that.
Let's talk about you and your job. You face death threats like many election workers. You've gone a pretty rough ride from your fellow Republicans. You're laughing.
Yeah, I mean, laugh or cry, right?
Right. You were censured by the Maricopa County Republican Party for your conduct during the 2020 election, which you had no role in, and also 2020, and also during the aftermath of 2020. You wrote a 17-page response to the party with footnotes.
Yes.
Most politicians would just brush it off and move on. Why did you invest that much time?
Oh, because I come from an academic, analytical background, and I like to think that reasoning matters, the truth matters, and so I also wanted it as an opportunity to explain how the tabulation process works, because that was one of the things that they raised concerns about in the August 2022 primary, just the process of it. And so I felt, as long as I have your attention, I'll get into the details of the tabulation process. But look, all the facts are on my side. I happen to love to write, so I figured, why not go for it? Because we're going to win that 100% of the time. And a few have reached out to me and said they're embarrassed that it was done.
So you think it's working. Do you see yourself running for re-election in 2 years?
I don't know. Let's ask me post-November election, and we'll see how that's going. I love the team. It's the most fulfilling job I've ever had. We are part of one of the most important conversations in the world right now, and Arizona, for better or for worse, is factoring in very prominently into that. So in terms of finding purpose, which I think is a fairly typical human want, it's unparalleled. Some of the nonsense, it stinks.
But could you win a primary? Because you will be primaried.
Well, I'm pretty competitive, so you know, if I were going to get into it, I would play to win, sort of thing.
Stephen Richer, thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck with the election.
Thank you so much.